Laura, let's talk about minis.
Okay, what do you want to know?
I want to know everything. How much does it cost to run a classic mini? Have you ever worked it out?
It costs a lot.
Does it?
Yeah, more than you think actually.
Why? What's most
Because
expensive?
The maintenance of the bodywork and stuff like that, really.
Right.
Every time you put your car in for an MOT and a service, there's always a quirky little something that
Is there?
is usually a lot of pounds to
Right.
fix or put right, or
Okay.
advisories or things like that. I mean, minis are notorious for rust.
Yes.
If you don't treat it, then it's only going to get worse.
All right.
So I've had to bite the bullet and spend a small fortune on
Have you recently?
putting some rust on all right on my one. Yes.
I mean, I remember from years ago when I was a young lad and everybody had a mini, the subframes used to rot.
Yes, so touch wood, I haven't had to do that yet, but that's probably an advisory on my next
Right.
MOT. I've had all the rust like that you can see, so it looks pretty.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's all the unseen bits that are usually picked up by the mechanics and things like that, but there's the usual places that they go, the A-frame down the bottom by the wheel, the scuffle round the windscreen, the bits around the headlights usually go. They're all areas that just need a bit of attention. So mine's been sandblasted and resprayed now, so she's looking good. And I mean, she runs really well as well. She's always had a good engine. It's a 1.3i engine because it's a limited edition sidewalk mini.
Sidewalk? I can't say I've heard of that one.
So the Kingfisher Blue, they made 1,000 Kingfisher Blue, charcoal grey and white. And I'm not sure, I mean there'll be some mini fans out there that will put me right on this, but I believe only 500 were for the UK market and 500 then went to the Japanese market.
Right.
But it's a limited edition one, so it's got the funky interior with the tartan seats. I mean, there's not many modifications that I've done to it, but I've put new wheels on it and put a dashboard, as we know a dashboard to be, as in functional, because most minis have just got an empty space and the speedometers and the steering wheel, and there's just nothing there. So I've got a little glove box and things like that that I've colour matched to the car. So it's a little bit of a personal modification for me.
Okay, is this a Laura design? Is it your own special design, or is it something that any mini owner could buy and fit?
Oh yeah, I mean the dashboard kits are for minis, but then I've sprayed it to the colour that I wanted it to match to. I mean, you can have, there's lots that have like sort of false leather look on them, where you can have like the glove box a different colour and things like that, but mine's a bespoke colour because it has to match the Kingfisher Blue.
Or just like you're a berserk,
Berserk, probably.
bespoke. And what year is it? N-Reg?
It's 1995.
It's
so
very late, isn't it?
Yeah, so she'll be 30 next year,
Right.
October the 31st.
Sorry, they were introduced what, in 59? The mini? I think it was.
Yeah, they had their birthday recently, didn't they? As of like the first production that came off the rollers, as it were.
That's right.
So, yeah.
So being a 95, that is very late in the run of the classic looking mini.
It is, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've always had classic minis. My first car was a classic mini. I had a bright orange Clubman, which was called William of Orange because of the colour. I enjoyed that very much until a person in a transit van wrote it off.
Oh, right.
And then I had another one after that, and then I had another one after that. So I've had a Red Hot Mini. That was another sort of version that they made. And then I think the last one I had was just one that my dad had bought me because we'd crashed the other one.
Yeah. So have you always had a mini in your life since driving?
Up until I got sensible and got married and had a child.
All right, you had to have a family car.
But I always said I would get a mini again.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny actually, because the Sidewalk used to be one that was always advertised in like girls' magazines and stuff when they first came out. And I always looked at it and thought, wow, that looks really good. And then years on, I'm like, I've got one.
How long have you owned this one for?
I've had it for 15 years now.
Have you really? As long as that?
Yeah, so we used to live down south and we bought it then. And then when we moved to the Middle East for a few years, I was really like, I didn't know what to do with it. And my husband was like, sell it, sell it. I was like, I don't want to. So my dad said, no, we'll never sell it. So he put it on the driveway and drove it and looked after it for me whilst I was away. And then obviously we got it back. So drove it all the way from down south in Surrey to Lincolnshire, and it's been there and back a few times.
Yes. And how often do you use it? It's not a daily driver, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, it needs to be garaged. So I'm part of the Bomber County Mini Club, so we go out on trips on those, and where life allows, I join in on those. This year I probably haven't used it so much because it was being restored. It's come out for the car shows that we've had at Hemswell as well. So.
And how do you feel when you do jump into that Mini? How is it different to jumping into a modern car?
Oh, I just love it, all the quirks, the noises. If it starts rattling, you turn the radio up and you don't know it's happening. It's just like, you know, it's like a little go-kart, so it is good fun, and it feels like you're going faster than what you are because it's so low down. So, but yeah, it just gives me happiness.
It's a little happiness pill then, really, isn't it?
It's my happy place.
And do you find that? Do you just sort of like drift off into a little meditative world when you're driving that Mini?
Well, yeah, but not too much because obviously you've got to concentrate. But no, there's nothing better than just getting in that little car and just going off when you fancy a bit of a change of scenery or a break or just a bit of time away. You just go off and go for a little drive.
And do you do that alone? You just jump in your car and go off? Yeah, that's good. I think it's good for you.
You have lovely scenery around here, don't you? So being a townie myself, to be able to drive amongst fields and things is quite nice.
And I know it's difficult to put a figure on, but what sort of money would you factor in on a yearly basis to keep that Mini in tip-top shape?
I mean, I think you're always going to have to have a little safety net of like £1,000 sitting somewhere just in case you need to spend bits and pieces. But it's not so much the parts, it's the labour that's involved in, and that's always the same with anything, isn't it? But with Minis in particular, and older cars, all classic cars, it's not, if you damage a wing, you've got to like take it off and you've got to weld it back. It's the welding and things like that. Whereas like, you know, a new car, you just bolt it off and bolt it back on.
Well,
again,
that's true.
You? So it's like much of a muchness. There's not much involvement in that. But if you damage one of your wings or something, God forbid, then you have to buy the part and then weld it back on and everything. So.
And is it important to have a good relationship with somebody who understands classic cars?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we took the Mini to somewhere to have it MOT'd, and because it was a modern garage, they picked up loads of things that if someone who was more into classic cars would say, well, actually, you know, that's 30 years old. You can't expect that to be the same as like a year-old car that's just rolled off from somewhere.
So do you stick with one body shop, one mechanic to take care of it?
I do, yes. So we've got a friend from the Mini Club that we use quite frequently who owns their own garage, and then there's a lady that she was running the Bomber County classic car shows that were here, and she did all the restoration for me, and she's brilliant.
Right.
I mean, she's very attention to detail in that, because she's not a big garage that's got lots of other jobs to do. Once she's got yours to do, she works on that, and you know that she's not going to get distracted. She knows she's going to do a good job, and then she'll get the next client in and that sort of thing. So you know, she does a really good job. I was really pleased with what she did.
And what about the community around the world of Minis?
Well, I think it's like any club, isn't it? So I mean, you could be a member of any classic car club. Some people think it's a load of people just standing there talking about their Minis, but we actually go out and do trips. So we do the Whitby Fish and Chip Run, for instance.
Of course you do.
We drive to Whitby, but it's like the longest way possible to get there. And everyone who sees you when you're driving in convoy, when you see about 15 Minis all driving around, it just puts a smile on their face, and they're just all trying to whip their camera out quick. They're like, they see one come along, and then they're like, and then they're like, oh, so it's a whole load of them. So yeah, it's quite good fun. A bit like the Italian job, I suppose. You feel like that when you're driving around in them with everybody else.
I bet you do. And do you? I mean, you work here at Hemswell Antiques Centre, so you're dealing with vintage objects, antique objects. You're driving effectively an antique car, because in the scale of things, that car that is 30 years old, if it was a piece of furniture, taking into account, you know, centuries of furniture manufacturing, that's almost medieval, that car, isn't it? Compared to a brand new car.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
bit prettier than medieval.
Well, a bit pretty, but so you're driving an antique, a piece of art, but it's on wheels.
It is. Yeah.
Is that how you feel about it?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I mean they're quite unique now, aren't they? In the shape of old like classic cars, they've just got more character, haven't they? I think.